Hey everyone, this is Jordan Romano, and welcome to the Phillies Show.
Hey everybody, Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zolecki. It is New Year's Eve, and we're up talking ball early in the morning. How are you guys doing? You guys have a good Christmas, Hanukkah, holidays?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah, very nice. Check out my big Christmas gift.
That is sweet.
Wow. Can we zoom in? Get in there tight.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
We need a tight shot.
That's
So Jim is holding up a Philly Show mug that says "World's Best Podfather."
my daughter Mary got me this. It's
That's so
Philly
cool.
Show logo. It's on.
Is it like Shutterfly or
I'm
something?
not sure. We might have to arrest her for violating licensing and copyright agreements, but it was a pretty nice little gift.
That is very cool, man. That is very
great
cool.
gift, man.
Yeah, that is awesome.
We don't have
I'm
that
gonna
on
get
our
you guys
merchandise.
one.
We don't have that on our merch list yet.
Not yet, but maybe at some point. But Jim, you are sporting the Philly Show t-shirt, which you can get
Yes,
at
you are.
thephillyshow.com. Very nice. And Ruben, what do you got going on? It says I see a suspect.
Oh yeah, so in that little suspect group, this was the shirt that I wore underneath my uniform at in Cleveland before the '94 team, and we made up shirts for the guys who were on the bench who basically never played. If you remember, Mike Hargrove basically stamped that lineup. It was like Lofton and Vizquel and Baerga and
Albert Bell,
Albert Bell, and that unbelievable lineup. So it was me, Candy Maldonado, Alvaro Espinoza, Wayne Kirby, myself, Tony Pena, and then Rene Gonzalez there in the bottom. But here's the reality.
But we got skills on the back.
We had some skill.
Yeah, but
That's
we
like-
got skills is on the back. That's
Ruben,
great.
that's like on the back. So I encourage folks to join us on YouTube. You can see this on the back of Ruben's shirt. It says, "But we got skills." That's like saying, but she has a nice personality.
That's exactly right.
That is so funny. I mean, on that '94 team, yeah, it must have been you guys to get a start in a game.
Didn't happen very often. I mean, every once in a while, Espinoza would get a start because Jim told me he was playing third base then.
Oh yeah.
So Espy would come in for defense at the end of the game. They had Eddie Murray and Paul Sorrento basically platooning in first.
Right.
Whoever didn't DH that day would play first base. So, we had Manny Ramirez in right. We had Kenny Lofton in center. We had Albert Bell in left. We had Baerga at second. Vizquel at short and Tomey. And then behind the plate was Sandy Alomar. So, I mean, Tony Pena was the only guy that played because he would, give Sandy an opportunity. But it was just an amazing ball club. I mean, these guys raked. I mean, anytime you have Manny Ramirez hitting like 7 in your lineup, you should be fine.
Seeing that shirt, Ruben, and with suspect on it, and all the reserve players, and I know Charlie Manuel was your hitting coach, and it reminds me of one of Charlie's great pieces of wisdom. He used to call certain players coach killers because you'd pitch in batting practice all the time, and your arm would fall off, but they would never get any better. They were coach killers.
That was me. I was one of those. He said he used to call me the most high maintenance bench guy in the history of the game because I would work, pretty hard. I'd like to try to stay ready.
Right.
But the ratio between actual at bats on the field and the actual swings I took in the cage, pretty incredible, incredibly large ratio. But Charlie worked with us. I won a few games for us and became sort of valuable because I did win a couple of games in some situations and pinch hitting or coming in late or whatever. So at least I was worth a little bit, a little something.
And look at the bright side, Ruben. You grew up to be a great podcaster.
Boom. Right?
You don't have a mug to
There's a reason for everything.
That's right.
No, I don't have a mug.
You're not the pod father, but you're a good podcaster.
How about this? I'll show this.
As my kids would say, very, very jelly.
I don't know. They didn't do this when I was a kid for Christmas, but maybe your girls, they're obviously a lot older than my kids, but Did they have these things at school where you give them $20, they can go in and get you guys a Christmas gift? Because that's like a new thing now. So my daughter went in and got me this mug. It just says number 1 dad on it, which is funny. As part of her, going to school, like buy the mug for $2, you wrap it up, you give your dad a gift. So, but those things are cool.
You're the number 1 dad. Todd.
Yeah.
And the number 1 Todd Potter.
That's right. That's right. Oh gosh. So the last time since we last talked, the Phillies actually made another move, and I think we should talk about it. It's not a big sexy move, but they signed Joe Ross to a 1-year, $4 million deal. And they apparently were talking to Joe Ross before they got Jesus Luzardo in that trade with the Marlins. Ross is going to slide into the bullpen. He can start. Obviously, he started with the Nationals. He was pretty effective last year with the Brewers out of the bullpen. So he's now kind of like their third or fourth right-hander in the pen. Provides them some depth. We love depth. What did you guys think of the Joe Ross move, and maybe what it means for Taijuan Walker or what it means for the bullpen?
Good, Rube.
I love it. This is a guy who's been around a while. He sort of found himself as a bullpen guy. He's been a starter for a long time. He's had some injury issues, he's had this and that, bounced around a little bit. But I've known Joe Ross and seen him pitch even when he was pitching way back in Cal. He pitched for my good buddy Dave Esker way back when he was coaching at Cal, and then he switched over to Stanford. But did David? But great sinker. Always had a power sinker. Was one of the guys that never really locked in as a starter, but it seems like he's hung around long enough to be able to make himself a serviceable right-hander. Seems durable enough. You just don't. Hopefully, he bounces back again for a pretty good year this year. But I think this is a great signing because anytime you can create more depth, and you said it, Todd. I mean, I do love depth, and you also protect yourself a little bit more on your rotation. In your rotation, obviously, getting Luzardo makes for a great 5, but 5 starters. I don't think he's going to be a 5th starter, but I think it's just it's really important to have as many starters as you possible starters as you possibly can. And this is a guy who can eat up some innings for you if you have some breakdowns.
Yeah, had a good year last year, and he's a swing man. So, he is the definition of depth, and the fact that you can use him in 2 different roles. He kind of almost feels like that Turnbull signing.
Yep.
A year ago, and Turnbull was giving him good returns until his injury. So, I don't know. It's the biggest cliche going, but you can never have enough pitching. Never, ever, ever. So, all in favor of it. All in favor of a guy. He's a couple of years removed from injury, and he kind of got his feet back last year, or got his legs back. Those guys sometimes get better that second year back, a year stronger, a year more confident, and then they start focusing on the future where they see a payday. So a lot of times you get the best they have left, and maybe this is a case in point there.
And that really not going to be a high leverage guy. And it reminds me of that Chan Ho Park type situation, like where
that's a good one.
You can swing him around. You can start some. You can relieve, and maybe he's really found his niche as a reliever.
Yeah, you think about how healthy the rotation has been over the past couple of years. It's just nice to know that if somebody goes down, because we've talked about this. Dave Dombrowski, he said the second half of the season, a big reason why he thought the Phillies struggled down the stretches. They didn't have anybody to really step in and replace Ranger, and Taijuan Walker wasn't doing the job, and some of those number 5 starters doing the job. So you feel a lot better about Joe Ross if somebody else would go down for a few weeks, a month, 2 months, than maybe some of these other options. So if you look at the bullpen right now, you have the right-handers in the pen are Jordan Romano, Ryan Kirkering, Jose Ruiz, Joe Ross. The lefties are Matt Strom, Jose Alvarado, Tanner Banks. 8-man bullpen that leaves 1 spot open. Taijuan Walker is going to come to camp as of now, and he's going to compete for a job in the bullpen. And then you're looking at other possibilities. I'm just looking at 40-man roster guys. I know they signed some guys to minor league deals that'll have a shot. Max Lazar last year pitched in the bullpen down the stretch. Alan Rangel, who is they got from the Angels midseason, pitched and finished in AAA. They like him a little bit. Devin Sweet, who pitched in AAA with Detroit last year. Michael Mercado, who's obviously got to throw way more strikes to have any shot to pitch in the bullpen. But those are kind of the guys right now looking to be in that 8 spot. So, Taijuan Walker, I guess, he's going to come in and compete, but I think the Joe Ross, I don't know, does this Joe Ross situation kind of push him out a little bit more, or?
Well, is Joe Ross the 7th guy by your count?
Yeah, he would be the 7th guy by my count, unless I'm missing somebody. Yeah.
So, if Taijuan pitches okay, I guess he could be the 8th guy, kind of the long man, mop-up man, continue working with him. But, who knows? I mean, he might not make it out of Clearwater. I think the best thing he's got going for him is the number 36, and I'm not talking about Robin Roberts.
You're talking about 36 million.
Yeah, so
yeah,
they owe him a lot of money. It's tough to just say goodbye to that. So I think you maybe exhaust a few more, a little more time with him and see what he's going to bring in after this off-season conditioning program. But they're going to go a lot deeper than 8 in that bullpen in 2025. Sure. We're going to see him running a bunch of those guys that you named through there.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about the guys that you named is I don't know the last time that you actually put guys on paper, come February 15th, that those are the guys that end up breaking with the team. I mean, it's always different. There's always something that pops up. Somebody gets tweaked, somebody gets hurt. You never have a clean spring training. It just inevitably never, ever happens. And typically it's with pitching. Some guy gets something, a blister, tweaks his hammy, a groin, his elbow starts to bother him, whatever the case may be, or he gets behind. So that's the issue, I think.
Right.
I just think having a guy like Ross around is a helpful piece, just to move things forward.
Jesús Luzardo had his little introductory Zoom on Monday and talked about his health. That was the big thing. Talked about his excitement joining the team. He says, I got to experience Red October firsthand. He started game 1 of the 2023 NL Wildcard Series, which the Phillies won. So he got to experience that. Says he's excited about coming to Philly, being on the other side of that. Jim, you were on that call. What jumped out at you about Jesús Luzardo? You asked him some questions, a few questions about his back, which is, anytime anybody talks about back, stress reaction in the back. And then he says and then they say they're healthy, of course. You still got in the back of your mind to go, all right, but it's
what jumped out at me. I mean, nice young man, nice personality, gave really good answers, thoughtful answers, and he's got really good hair. So those are the things that immediately jumped out at me.
He does have good hair.
Yeah, he's got good hair, but of more importance, the health was, to me, the biggest issue that needed to be covered, and he explained what exactly the stress reaction was. Sounded like it was an irritation of a vertebrae from twisting and turning, and maybe the just the active pitching. And sometimes you get inflamed, and the only way to flush that inflammation out of there and that soreness out of there is to shut down. He said he had to shut down, but he feels good now. He's 100%. He says he doesn't even think about it. And all the medical people have told him that, once you kind of flush this out of there, it usually doesn't come back. So Phillies have to be hoping that is the case because, they've built themselves a nice rotation with his addition, both talented and deep. And I think he could be a really good fit here. If is always the advanced copy on every season, if you're healthy. And that goes, up and down the roster. If they get good performance from him and the rest of the guys will have a pretty good rotation. But, I go back to, I like the pickup. And I know they gave up a really good, promising young shortstop. The guy's 19 years old, and you're in your window where you need to punch one through the red zone and into the end zone here. And
right.
I definitely like the pickup, and I like the things I heard him say about his health and his desire to get back to where he was in 2023 when he had that really good season, 32 starts, 100 and I forgot how many innings, 175 maybe. So nice addition, said all the right things on New Year's Eve, but the proof will come in April, May, June, July, August, September, October.
That's right.
So my first impression of this kid was, does he have a baby face or what? He looks like he's 7 years old.
Yeah.
Which I love. But I also know that he's a killer on the mound. I know he's got that, he loves the fire. He loves, and I think this is going to elevate his. I really do think that pitching in Philadelphia will elevate his game. That's my feeling on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, he talked about some of the things that he felt like he could be better at. One of them was game planning, and I started thinking about it. Phillies having lost Brian Kaplan, and like who's going to be game planning some of these. It's not going to just be Caleb Cotham. It's going to be somebody who's been brought in now, a new guy sort of brought in to sort of help game plan. So that'll be an interesting piece of how this all works out, because Kaplan was a very good game planner. It's one thing that he did extremely well. He's now over in Arizona as the pitching coach. So that'll be interesting. But, I really felt I read faces. We talk about this a lot. I like faces. This guy seemed natural. He seemed seemed pretty excited, not overly excited, but excited about being in Philadelphia and pitching here. I think it's going to be a really welcomed arm in this rotation. I'm looking forward to watching this guy, and I do think that stress reaction stuff is behind him. The fact that he's started throwing a little earlier than he typically does, and he's got doesn't even think about it right now. That's all a really good sign.
Yeah, the fact that the doctors, he said multiple doctors told him once it is past him that it's something that should not bother him again. I guess, again, like Jim said, if that is the truth and if that is the case, and if he stays healthy, man, they have a really good top five. I mean, 1 through 5 rotation. I mean, you could say
best in baseball.
Maybe the best in baseball. Yeah.
Best in baseball, as far as I'm concerned, deep 1 through 5. No question.
I like
all those three really, really good left-handers, man.
Yeah, 3 good lefties, 2 workhorse righties at the top. And I like the point you made about the environment coming to Philly, because, I mean, pitching in Miami, it's a beautiful ballpark. I think they built a beautiful ballpark, but, I mean, it's like pitching in an empty warehouse. There's no there's no life. I mean, there's 4,000 people. And, coming here, it can only electrify you, this environment. Fans bring you so much energy. I know, like, Harper talks about it all the time. Schwarber talks about it all the time. But it is real.
It's
These
real.
fans do. I mean, Turner talked about it when he wanted to come here. They do give you a lift. So I think that environment, pitching in a place where every game matters to the fans, every game matters in the standings, because you're on a competitive team, not a team that's stuck in a perpetual rebuild. All that could be, if you're a competitor, all that can bring the best out of you.
And he competes, man. I love the way he's on the mound. He competes. He puts those glasses on, man, and he's ready to fire.
He's the Lizard King.
He's not the Lizard King. He's Zeus. That's a fake
Zeus.
name.
I like that. That's a cool nickname, though. If he takes off and pitches, you might see some Zeus signs or some guys up in the upper deck in right field dressed as a Greek god of strikeouts. The Greek god of strikeouts and wins.
That'd be cool.
So let's finish with this, Ruben. Eagles right now are coming down the stretch. I want to get your opinion as a former executive.
Which way do you go?
Saquon Barkley is really close to setting the NFL record. Now, you play him, he gets hurt, I'm going to kill you, Ruben. But if you don't play him and he doesn't break the record, I'm going to kill you, Ruben, because you don't have any guts to play the guy and go for the record.
Honestly, I would have asked the player. I asked the player directly and say, listen, this is something that is meaningful enough to you to play you. And if he says, I want to play in this game, then I put my 5 guys up front. I put him in the game. I let him make a run at it. See how it goes in the first half. If he's piling up some serious mileage, stay with him until he breaks it and then get him out. That's where I'm at. If he says, and he may very well himself say, listen, we got to do this. We're trying to win a Super Bowl here. I'll do the team thing. I'll be happy to, sit down for this next game, get ready for the playoffs. Then I'm fine with that too. I go to the player directly.
Okay.
You go to the player, let him make the call. You would, Ruben, as an executive. But if he gets hurt, I hope your resume is polished up. I'm if I'm in like the making that decision, I'm hoping he opts for the big picture view, the long game, and the team view, and says, it's been a long season. I'll take a recovery week and set our sights on the Super Bowl. But it's a tough one.
It's a really tough question.
It's a tough one, but I mean, you're here to win championships, not rushing titles, and that would be my call. Would be to opt to not risk injury. I think it's
so this is what's interesting about it is we talk about pulling guys out when they have a chance to throw a no-hitter and they're like 90 pitches or 100 pitches after 7 innings. This is way beyond that, man. This is a record in the history that may never be broken again. So this is why it's become such a difficult. I mean, he puts himself in a chance to be in the history book, the greatest single season running back of all time. And that makes it very, very difficult as an executive and, as a coach or what have you. So, I mean, it's a little different from like pulling a guy with a chance to get a no-hitter because there's been, 100 and some, I don't know how many.
Probably more than, yeah.
Couple hundred.
You pull a guy in a no-hitter. Let's say you pull a 24-year-old pitcher because his pitch count is like at a career high and is skyrocketing, and you decide to protect him instead of going for the no-hitter. I mean, that's a very important decision as well because you're protecting that young man's livelihood for years upon years, and he could end up making generational wealth,
right?
And if he stays healthy, so I think they're both enormously important decisions. I think part of this narrative, if the Eagles go on to win the Super Bowl and Taijuan Barkley puts his team first and says, I'm going to take the recovery time, I'm going to sit it out, not going to risk injury, and they win the Super Bowl, that just adds to his legend. No, he didn't get the record, but that just adds to his legend, the unselfish, team-based decision he made on their way to a title. So there's just a lot of elements to it, and I wouldn't criticize him either way. I could see, as a competitor, you want to have your name at the top of that rushing list, but I also think it's still about winning championships in pro sports. And
I will say with this one thing, that knowing Howie Roseman, I think what the narrative will be is just that they will tell him that they do not want him to play. And the narrative will be that they put it in his hands and he has created that legend. And if they do their PR correctly and they know what they're doing, I think they're with the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe that that's how they will handle it. That he decided that he wasn't going to play, but it will be something that comes from upstairs.
And he had a little foreshadow earlier when he sat out like the fourth quarter. He said, spread the wealth a little bit, let some other guys eat. Let some other guys run the ball. They had a big victory. Fascinating issue, and I hope they have a nice deep run in the playoffs because I really enjoy the NFL playoffs, and it's even better when the local team's in it.
It would be fun if the Eagles got to the Super Bowl. I think the Super Bowl this year is the Sunday before Phillies pitchers and catchers report.
So that'd be
kind of a nice little dovetail into the Phillies season. Eagles win the Super Bowl, and boom, 2 days later, pitchers and catchers report to Clearwater.
Be awesome.
The day of the parade or something like that. So that would be a lot of fun.
Go Birds.
Yeah. Real quick before we wrap up 2024, our final show of 2024. This was our 101st episode, I believe. Our 100th episode was the Billy Wagner interview. If you have not gone back and listened to that, Jim, I know you've gotten some nice feedback on it, or you re-listened to it and loved it, and you got some feedback. I got some nice feedback on it. On that interview, it was a lot of fun. So if you haven't listened to Billy Wagner, go back. A lot of great stories in there. I just wanted to mention that because we dropped that the day after Christmas. So
fingers crossed for Billy too.
Yes, yeah, Billy. Hopefully next month we'll find out that he has made the Hall of Fame, and he will be in Cooperstown next summer in Cooperstown, New York.
So that was 101 episodes, huh?
This is 101. This is 101. That was the 100th episode. That was a good guy to have.
Wow, it's been awesome, guys.
Knockout. Yeah. So
we've had some some good guests. I mean, Bryce Harper interview was great. You can still find that. Pat Burrell was great. Jason Worth was great. Schwarber was great.
Charles Barkley.
Chase Utley was outstanding.
Hunter Pence. Jeff Francoeur. We had Tyler Phillips on at one in mid-season. John Smoltz, Mookie Betts.
Wow.
We had Preston Mattingly, Luke Merton.
We talked about Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley. Yep. He was amazing.
Listen, if you guys get a chance, go back and listen to some of them because there's some really good clips out there.
And it's some timeless stuff too. Stuff. I feel like it's not just current state of affairs, what happened in yesterday's game. It's a lot of big picture fun stuff and a lot of really good stories as well. So go back and listen to those, but check out the Billy Wagner one. Guys, we will be back. This is going to sound cheesy, but I'll see you next year, 2025. I had to say that. I'll see you guys in 2025. We'll be back. See you guys.
Smell you next year.
Smell you, Jim.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, give us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Threads. Find Ruben's analysis before, during, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Find Jim at allphly.com. Find me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and MLB Network.